Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm taking a quick break from building knives to give you guys a review of this sharpening stone made by Sharpal. It's a diamond stone. I've got a couple of reasons I'm interested in this, and you might be as well. The reason I bought this stone is because a YouTube channel called Outdoors55, in which I don't know the fella's name, but he reviews a lot of different sharpening products, and he has a microscope and looks at the edge that it produces real close and everything. So fairly technical stuff, and I don't get that in depth to the whole sharpening thing. What I'm looking for is a practical, relatively simple to use product that I can put a sharp edge on my knives. Where I'm coming from is I do sharpen quite a few knives. Every knife that I make, almost every one without exception, I sharpen by hand and strop and get to a very sharp edge before I send it out the door to whoever's purchasing it. When I'm building a new knife, I put the initial edge on with the belt grinder at about usually a 220 grit. Then I'll take it to the Norton 3-stone system and work up through the grits and provide a nice honed edge up to the Arkansas stone, and then finally stropping it. So that's a bit of a process, and most people aren't going to need to go through that kind of process. I've had multiple clients reach out to me asking about sharpening products and what is the best sort of product for them to just maintain their knives under normal use. I feel like this might be a better option, something that's less expensive and just a better option all around. You don't need that whole 3-stone system necessarily just for maintaining your kitchen knives or your hunting knife or whatever. I bought this at the recommendation of old Outdoors 55, and his assessment of it seemed to be pretty convincing. He has a link to this on the video. I actually had to go to eBay to get this one because apparently Amazon is out of the 8-inch version. They also sell a 6-inch version, which, you know, is probably more mobile and such, but I prefer at least an 8-inch. So let's pull this out of the box here and see what we have. Pretty nice packaging. I haven't used a Sharpal product before, and my only experience with a diamond stone is an old DMT that I've used for a lot of years. So we'll see how this goes. Got some nice packaging there to keep it all secure and safe. So right off the bat, what I'm noticing is it's got quite a bit of weight to this this unit here, and I like that already because you don't want a light piece of, you know, something skating around when you're sharpening a blade. And then secondly, it's got a nice rubber pad that feels pretty grippy, and so, you know, that's something that a lot of sharpening systems, well, I don't know about a lot, but some sharpening systems don't really account for. Like the DMT that I have, it has like a plastic little base, which is actually long gone, but you have to literally bolt or screw it down to a tabletop or a surface. And how practical is that? But you need something that's not going to move around. So I've got my marble slab here, my marble tooling slab, and that might sort of represent a kitchen countertop pretty well. And it's not moving, so that's good. That's promising. On the top here, we've got a place, it looks like, to place the sharpening stone to actually use it. So let's go ahead and open this up, and there we go. So this stone has a coarse and a fine side, and according to Outdoors 55, it's got very good grit application to where you don't have, what did he call it, grit contamination. Apparently, and this is, I'm not speaking from experience here, I'm repeating what he said. Apparently a lot of diamond stones that have dual grits have cross-contamination, so that means on your fine side, you'll have a lot of coarse grit on your fine side, which kind of, you know, defeats the purpose of a coarse and fine side. So, yeah, coarse 325 grit is what they're calling that, and then extra fine at a 1200. So theoretically, you should be able to bring back an edge that's fairly poor on the coarse side and get it up to a nice fine edge that should work well. The plate itself here has quite a bit of weight to it. As you can see, it's about 5/16 inch thick. So it's got some heft to it, and that's where all the weight's coming from. This little plastic deal doesn't have any weight to it itself, so that's fine. Fits in there nicely. Nice little carry case. They also include an angle guide here, if I can pop that out. And it's a little pyramid. It's got 4 different angles on here. 14 degrees, 17 degrees, 20 degrees, and 25 degrees, depending on the type or style of knife that you're working with here. There was some instructions in here, and I don't know where they went now. They were recommending the different angles for the different knives, and I didn't agree completely with their assessment. Specifically the 25 degrees for a hunting knife. Now, if you're going to be running your hunting knife up against bone and stuff, I guess that's probably a good idea, but a careful application of a hunting knife, I'd go with a little thinner, like 20 degrees. But let's not get too off topic here. The little angle pyramid has a magnet on the bottom here, so you can stick it right there. And this allows you to check and see what angle you're actually sharpening your edge, your blade at. I'll say right now, 14 degrees. This particular knife here is sharpened at about 10, I would guess, based on that. This is going to be helpful if you're having difficulty establishing what angle to sharpen your knife at. It's not going to be the most efficient way to do it, to come back to this every time and follow through. But once you get used to the angle, I think you can kind of go a little bit faster. So this could be helpful for a lot of people in really kind of figuring out what sort of angle you're trying to sharpen your blade at. So let's pull this out here. Let's leave that out. Pull the plate, the stone out here, set it on top of this carry case here, and it snaps in there pretty snug, so it's not going to move around. I'm excited to see how this works, as I can get fairly, brisk on the stone here when I'm sharpening knives, and especially establishing the edge on there. So we're going to test this out. So I've got 2 knives here to test this sharpening stone. This one is a fairly older, well, several years, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old maybe. Maybe longer than that. Anyway, it's a knife that I built on the channel here quite some time ago. And due to a small little weld line there, I ended up not selling it, and I kept it, and we've used it. This one's tempered out softer than I would do today. It's a little older blade, but it's kind of a Damascus pattern there. And it's pretty dull. It's been used to cut pizza on the glass stovetop and things like that. So you can see pretty good light here, and it's pretty dull. So this is really going to be useful in checking to see what this this coarse side can do for bringing back an edge. And then secondly, I have this knife, which is quite recent. This is the Japanese style water quench knife that we did in a video recently here, the 125 CR1 steel. Nice high carbon content, a little bit of chromium. So I've been using this knife, and I really enjoy the shape and size and weight. And it's got a very nice Japanese style thin edge on it, and it's sharp, so we don't need to sharpen it so much. The reason I brought this one out is because it's got a nice thin edge grind to it, much more so compared to this one. So we'll just hop right in here. I'm going to start with this one, and like I said, this is pretty dull. Now this is a knife, and I'll show you the bevel here, that the bevel needs thinned out. All right. Not only is this grind thicker than I would grind it today, although it's probably close to a pretty common kitchen knife, modern kitchen knife, but in my opinion, the bevel needs thinned out, so you can see how wide of a primary bevel that I'm doing on there. And again, this is a softer blade than I would, softer edge than I would do today. But again, probably similar to what you're going to find on a lot of kitchen knives. And so far, all right, this really taken off material pretty quickly. Again, it's a little bit softer steel. So you see, I'm not using the angle here. I could, but I'm going with even a little sharper angle, closer to like 12 degrees on this. And once you get used to holding that angle, you can utilize a back and forth motion. That's a lot quicker and more efficient than, you know, resetting your angle every time and following through one stroke at a time. But that just comes with practice, so don't feel like you have to start out doing it like this, okay? So this is we're gonna get this edge back pretty quickly here. I can feel that based on how much material is coming off with this coarse side. So I'm just using it dry, obviously, and it's not clogging up. Doesn't look like it's clogging up or anything. Very positive abrasive here. Taking material off. So I'm going to work that down. So once I've taken off some material, I'm just following through with some more precise strokes on the stone here at approximately the same angle. I thinned it out at a little more acute angle, and I'm bringing the spine up a little bit to focus more on just right at the edge. This is not moving around. Obviously, you saw it rock just a little bit as I was really getting brisk on the stone, but and there's limitations too. So we've got a little bit of an edge on there. Got a little bit of a burr. All right, so I feel comfortable, well, almost here. So let's go ahead and switch to the fine side of this. And I'm gonna be curious to see how sharp we can get it. I'm just gonna use single strokes at this point to put the final edge on the knife. Now this is going really quickly. It would take more time and a little bit more work to reestablish an edge on, say, one of my current knives in the 5200 steel. Okay, so it's getting sharp. One of my complaints with the Norton 3-stone system that I'm using is that they are traditional stones. The coarse and the medium grit are man-made. They're either crystalline or aluminum oxide. I don't remember which, but and then the Arkansas stone. But they all wear, and you have to redress them to keep them flat, which is, that's normal for that type of stone. But I'm kind of curious how the diamond stone here would hold up to extended use in that regard. Obviously, it's not going to wear and dish out like a traditional stone, because you're dealing with a much harder abrasive. At some point they do wear out, but I would assume that it's going to last and maintain its flatness much longer than a traditional stone, which would also be nice. So we've got a decent edge on there. Now it's very possible that this is going to be an adequate working edge for most applications, and I would say so. I would say that you could finish this out on the super fine side here. Is that what they're calling it? Extra fine, 1200 grit. It gives you an adequate, decent working edge, I would say. So yeah, that's good. I'll probably strap this out. It might help your edge stay a little longer, but there is another aspect to this, and that is leaving sort of a toothy edge on here, which at 1200 grit you're going to still have a little bit, and you can feel it. You're going to have a little bit of a toothy edge, which is preferred by many in kitchen knife chef's knife application. Gives you that little bit of extra bite when you're trying to go through vegetable skins and that kind of thing, or even proteins. So that worked really well for restoring this edge. And granted, like I said, the caveat was that this is softer steel than I'm producing today and everything like that. However, it still stands, I believe. It just went a little quicker. So let's work with a steel that is significantly harder and more abrasion resistant than this steel, and also a much thinner grind. So this one is pretty sharp. I have such a thin grind and thin edge on it that, as with your traditional Japanese style kitchen knives, you have to be careful, because even just a drop cut, push cut on the cutting board, you can start to impact that very fine edge. So this is a laser edge, more of a race car edge and grind on here, and it's something you have to be really careful with. So even though it's very sharp, there's a couple of spots where I can see just the faintest glimmer of light where I have impacted that cutting board and stuff like that. Typically you want to do a push cut, or even, you know, a follow through cut, whatever that's called, and avoid hitting the cutting board. But sometimes it's just fun or advantageous to be able to just dice stuff up. Cilantro, whatever. I don't remember the last thing that I was dicing up, but all that to say is I want to touch this up a little bit, right? So I'm going to come to my fine side here and see what we can do. So of course, the diamond abrasive being extremely hard, much harder than any steel out there. This has no problem removing material, and you know, we can quickly reestablish a nice edge here. I'm really liking the way that's feeling, and I'd be happy to use this. So asking the question, how advantageous is this going to be for just routine knife maintenance in the kitchen or around the house, whatever? Because, as I mentioned a minute ago, I don't necessarily want to strop my kitchen knives, and I want to leave a little more of a toothy edge on there, although you can leave a little bit of a toothy edge with some stropping. But you know, maybe you're working in the kitchen, you don't want to have a bunch of equipment like that 3-stone system I mentioned and a strop. How well does this do? Well, I think it does really well. I think this would be great for keeping near or in the kitchen. It just, yeah, that's really nice, and that's what a better steel does for you. Yeah, that's really nice. So just keeping it maintained here, just a few passes on there, and this thing will demolish whatever you are prepping on, you know, for food that day. So I'm really happy with that, and I think this is going to work great. I think this is going to be a great option for the routine home knife maintenance. I don't know that I'm going to replace my system that I have for putting the initial edge on. I mean, some additional use to kind of, but I think it would handle that just fine, and maybe it will. Maybe I'll get another one and switch that out. But that's another nice thing about this, is that it's not super expensive. This is under $100. I want to say it was around, I should have it in front of me, but between $60 and $80 for this off of eBay is where I found it. And that's pretty reasonable. And I think, especially for someone who's just maintaining a set of kitchen knives, maybe a couple of hunting knives or whatever, this is going to last a long time. I think it should really serve you well. So, you know, if you're willing to take a little bit of time and learn how to operate those at an angle, just, you know, the stone like this, I think this will really serve you well. And this is what I recommend, a stone, some form of stone like this, because while it does take a little bit of practice and skill to get to where you can maintain that angle on the stone, this is what's going to give the best longevity to your knife. Sharpal and other companies make other products where you pull the knife edge through some kind of contraption, and that's a great way to ruin your knife edge very quickly. And you know, if you've spent hard-earned money on a high-end custom knife, that's kind of the last thing you really want to do. So just a stone like this or something similar is what I recommend, and I'm really happy with this. I think it's worth the money that I paid for it, and I'm happy to, I'm looking forward to continuing to use it. And first impression is that I think it's going to be a great option. And if you're looking around for something, this is probably going to be a great option for you in maintaining your knives as well. So thanks for watching the video. Appreciate Outdoors 55 and his research on sharpening stones and things like that, and the recommendation. That's why I bought this one, because as he's mentioned too, there are a lot of other diamond stones out there, and most of them are a lot more money, and this one seems to be really decent for the price. So yeah, I'd recommend picking one of these up for sure. So hopefully this was helpful. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next video.